So we're heading out to Fame Cove, and from there, well, the world's our oyster.
Just the automatic processing circuit stops working after 3 or 4 months. So yeah, definitely needs a clean up.
So we're in Nanabar Creek. Our boat is just
Well deserved beer.
Just a prison on the Dead Sea.
I'm Adriana, and this is Jim. We met in a band, got married, had a family, got into boating, and when our children moved to London, we sold everything to move on to Kekaimalu, our home, a 42-foot Swanson with our spoodle Lucy. This is our salty life. Subscribe and welcome aboard.
Security, hello all ships, hello all ships.
Last time, a rare weather event, a complex low and a cold front coincided with the replacement of our heat exchanger.
Once we finally got it in and all the modifications and adaptations done and got it operational, I then began to road test the Jan and ran for an hour. I thought, okay, that's looking good. So the next morning I went and rechecked the engine coolant level, because you have to keep checking it when you've had all the motor apart, because you get air pockets, and top it up. So I went and topped it up, turned the engine back on, ran for about 15 seconds and stopped. So it was a new issue, but basically it was the resurfacing of an old gremlin, and that was that occasionally the engine would just stop running. And it has a safety shutdown system which is controlled by 3 sensors: an oil pressure sensor, an engine temperature sensor, and an exhaust temperature sensor. And those sensors basically go to a controller that then provides voltage to a solenoid that opens up the fuel. Without that solenoid having voltage, the fuel is shut off and the engine shuts down, and that's how the safety system works. So I narrowed it down to the safety system because every time the engine would shut down, it was the voltage would be cut out to that solenoid. So we knew it was to do with the safety shutdown system. But then figuring out which part of the safety shutdown system was a bit beyond me. I tried checking the individual sensors for open and closed circuit, voltage and no voltage, and I couldn't basically figure it out. So I called a marine electrician, and he discovered that it was a small resistor that was wired into the oil pressure sensor. And even though it looked fine, it was actually a dry joint which was intermittent and had become basically malfunctioning. So we replaced that small resistor with, was like a 10-cent piece from J-Car, and the gensets run fine ever since.
So we've got some good weather finally, and a deadline to leave the marina. But as this is a boat, there are always jobs to be done. So what are you up to, Jimmy?
Another replacement, clean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the automatic processing circuit stops working after 3 or 4 months for whatever reason, even though the only water that goes into the grey water tank is just clean soapy water, because everything gets rinsed, nothing goes into the sink basically to block it up. So anyway,
So you're trying something new?
I'm trying a slightly different version. It's a new one with a different sensor. This is the sensor at the front here, so anyway, we'll give it a go, see how long this one lasts. Okay, just got to get it so that it sits flat in there. Okay, so it works on manual, put it on automatic.
We waited for the grey water tank to fill, which, if all went well, would trigger the sensor.
There she goes.
What's this?
Here's our depth sounder, and it's a trijuicer, so it's got the water temperature, the speed through the water achieved by paddle wheel turning, and the depth sounder, so it's 3 functions in one skin fitting, and it's been quite good. It's worked quite well, but we've been in the marina for a few months without using it. It probably will have some growth on it that will stop it from turning. The fitting here is about 2 foot below the waterline. The boat waterline is about here, so it's about 2 foot. This is a more modern design that's got a flap that closes as the water pressure tries to come in as you remove the fitting. You won't get a huge amount of water, so I'll just pull it out, put this blank in, clean it, and then put it back in. That's how much water comes in. It's not too bad. Yeah, definitely needs a clean up. The first step is just to dig out the growth. Got to be careful not to damage the surface of the depth transducer, so I'm being very gentle. An old toothbrush. It's actually Adri's toothbrush. I'll just put it back into the bathroom.
That recalls an episode of something I've seen before.
Just sort of digging it out gently from around the wheel so that she can turn freely. Before I put it back in, once I've cleaned it up, I'll just put a little bit of white PTFE lubricant. It's not water soluble, so it'll help to keep it clean over the next few months. It always pays to keep it clean and to check it anyway. It's much easier to do it before you need it. Give that a rinse off. So, spinning freely, that's what you want. Okay.
So we're heading out to Fame Cove, and from there, well, the world's our oyster.
Till the killer strong to keep it in.
We're going somewhere fun? Okay, let's go.
I need you, drawing me in. I might have found something here. Oh, I might have found something here. If you wanna make a home again, if you
Every time I leave a port, and I've done that many times since I was a little girl, I feel both excited and nervous. It doesn't matter if I'm going to cross an ocean or just going to nestle in a quiet bay. I always feel that the moment I say goodbye to my land base, I'm stepping across a threshold into a world where I'm just a visitor, someone who doesn't really belong here, but is graciously allowed to enter as long as I meet the conditions of this world. That I leave behind the relative security of land and place myself at the mercy of the water gods and live by their rules.
trying to find a way to say it. I'm still trying to find a way to say it. If you wanna make a home again, if you wanna make a home again.
You want a dinghy ride? So we're in Nanabar Creek. Our boat is just over there. You can probably just see its mast way in the distance on the other side of that shoal. And we are exploring. We can't use a motor because it's actually quite shallow here, probably only a couple of feet. But it's very beautiful.
And it's a popular grey-nosed shark breeding ground.
Well, that's why we're not
Which is an
swimming.
extra bonus.
Yeah. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning, and I don't often get up this early, but when I do, I'm really glad I've done it because it's the most peaceful time of the day.
Breakfast is served.
What do you want, Lucy? Want breakfast?
Still a bite in paradise is lost. With darkened hearts, we didn't count the cost. Forgot all we left behind. Life picks up speed.
We've decided to pull up anchor, and Jim's just cleaning the anchor chain because the bottom here is quite dirty. I've put a waypoint in the charts and I'm keeping an eye on how far we're drifting.
It breaks our heart and it breaks our crime. Brings us down where we see it's gonna be alright.
So where are we going, Jimmy?
We're just going to have a potter around. It's the wind swifting to the north tonight, and it's going to be quite warm. It's going to be 28 degrees, which is probably the warmest day, I think, since winter began.
There's no center in this cyclone sea. There's
that enough?
No, we've got to get it right.
So here we are at Shoal Bay.
It's time to do a bit of exercise.
Yeah.
We can do a 2 or 4K walk along the waterfront and get back to the boat. And there's a great little pub here, which I think is where we'll be going.
Yes, I think so.
There's no name for what you feel. There's no sound out on
Well deserved beer.
as you drown.
What breed is he?
He's Duffy
Oh,
Kelpie.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You're a gorgeous little man, aren't you?
As you drown. As you drown. As you drown.
Say. Okay. A little roly-poly. But what a beautiful afternoon. Join us as we continue to explore this vast and beautiful waterway. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support us, you can give us a thumbs up, tell us what you think in the comments below. We always get a kick out of hearing from you. And subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell button if you want to be notified of future videos. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and we have a website. All the links are below. And if you'd like to support us further, you can find a link to Patreon there too. Once again, stay well, stay safe, and keep that tail wagging.